The 2025 NFL Draft kicks off here in 3 days on Thursday, April 24th, and there's a high chance of a couple Missouri Tigers hearing their name called. Two of those are obviously more high-profile ones: offensive tackle Armand Membou and wide receiver Luther Burton. You have guys like Brady Cook, Johnny Walker Jr., and Theo Weiss who also have a chance. But we're gonna break down all those prospects this week leading up to the NFL Draft, making their case and just some background information. Starting off with right tackle Armand Membou. True junior, played 3 years for the Missouri Tigers, started the last 2 years from Lee Summit, Missouri, obviously in-state guy. Fun story there. Let's get into the fun stuff. Measured in at 6'4", 332 pounds, with 9 3/4 inches arms, and then an 81 looking wingspan there. So obviously, conversations and questions about his length and size to play tackle. We'll get into that in a second, but a little bit proven there on that side of things. Ran a 4.9 140 at the combine and then a 1.74 10-yard split. So checked the box for the athleticism there. Obviously, that is kind of Membou's thing, right? He might be a little bit undersized, but he has the size and the speed and the strength, to compete on the outside. Again, we'll get into that here in a second. Into the nitty gritty things about what he did. No sacks allowed in 827 pass protection snaps this season with the Tigers. That's going up against edge rushers in the SEC like Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton from Texas A&M off the top of my head. So did it against a high level of competition. Obviously, many others there. No sacks allowed at all. Only 8 quarterback pressures in that same time frame as well. So again, just proof of what he did in arguably the best area to be for defensive ends and pass rushers in all of college football. Membou held his own that whole time. Did not allow a single sack. Only 8 pressures. Also made the All SEC second team at the right tackle spot. Looking more into the NFL draft, Matt Miller released recently, about 7 days ago, released his top 600 players. Does it every year for ESPN. Membou comes in at 10th on that list. Other guys, other offensive tackles that could be picked ahead of Membou. There's really only one, and it's LSU's Will Campbell. Some might make an argument for Texas's Kelvin Banks, but those are just a couple other names to keep an eye on there. As far as draft fits or where he could be selected, I think, and not just me, this is kind of a common idea and common concept that the first place where he really could be taken off the board is the number 4 overall pick to the New England Patriots. Things have to go right for Membou to end up going number 4, and someone would have to fall. Or someone would not have to fall, I guess, would be the case there for Membou. Number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders would be another good landing spot. These are teams that desperately need offensive linemen. 7 to the Jets would also make sense. They could use a guard or a tackle. So, that would make sense there. Kind of fun to see a direct NFL comp. I think a lot of people look at Elijah Vera Tucker on the Jets as a guy that maybe resembles Membou's playstyle / situation coming into the NFL. So something interesting to keep an eye on there. Those guys could be teammates. And then number 10 to the Chicago Bears. Again, they just need the offensive line play, and he might end up playing, right tackle for them. So that would make a lot of sense. It would be kind of hard at this point to see him slide out of the top 10 based on these teams' needs and how he's being talked about right now. That would be awfully surprising to see him slide out of the top 10. I think the Bears would be the last team there that would be willing to take him. I think it would be a massive surprise to see anyone else go ahead of him. So something to keep an eye on there. As far as the whole the whole guard tackle conversation, I chuckle because it seems like something that's been beaten over everybody's heads as of recently. And I've said this before. One of my favorite things I heard come out of Armand Membou's mouth at the NFL Combine a couple months ago in Indianapolis was that he knows he can play the tackle position. He defended his ability to play the tackle position. Here at Missouri Tigers on the side, we had NFL draft analyst Tyler Brook on the All Things Mizzou podcast recently, And he mentioned that he likes to see, when evaluating prospects, whether they are going to be a better guard or a tackle in the NFL. He said, despite size, he likes to kick the less athletic players inside and have your better athletes play tackle. So I think that fits into Armand Membou's case, right? There's all these conversations about him being too small and not big enough and little on the shorter end, obviously, but 332 pounds, and he is probably the most athletic tackle in this class. So that goes into his favor. And then the arm length and the wingspan and the hands, I think they all help him quite a bit. So he's going to be able to play both positions in the NFL, and it's going to be situational, right? Depending on the team that ends up taking him, it's going to depend, that's going to depend on where he ends up and what position he's going to play. But he can do it both. We didn't see him play guard in college, obviously, but I think the proof is there that he could obviously do it. That's all I have for you today here on Missouri offensive tackle slash offensive guard Armand Membou. We will see here in a few days where he ends up spending the rest of his foreseeable future in the NFL. Thanks.